morning and welcome to the NBA Daily presented by Amazon Prime for March 10th, 2026. I'm Dave DuFour here with Zena Keita. Coming up, we go deep with Andrew Schlecht on the 129-126 win by the Oklahoma City Thunder over the Denver Nuggets. Zena, was it the game of the year?
It might have been.
It was the game of March for sure.
For sure.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. Man, big game last night. Maybe the Western Conference Finals preview. Zena Keita, Andrew Schlecht, Dave DuFour. We're fired up. Andrew, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander might have wrapped up the MVP last night, and you were in the building for it, man. Walk me through just the end of the game. We're going to start there, and then we'll reconstruct the entire thing.
Yeah, the Thunder beat the Nuggets 129-126, and that might seem straightforward. It was not. This was not straightforward at all. Shai hit a step-back three that we thought was the dagger. It put the Thunder up by 4. There's not a lot of time left on the clock. It just felt like the Nuggets were sunk. And then a play happens that Jay Will told me in the locker room was one of the dumbest plays of his life after playing maybe one of the best games of his life.
Yeah.
Jokic makes a 3 above the break. And as this 3 is going in, Jay Will is kind of tussling with Jamal Murray after a pin down screen and knocks him over. And they call a foul away from the ball, which means you get a free throw. And Jamal Murray, I think everybody who has any knowledge of Jamal Murray's season is like edge of their seat immediately.
That's right.
Because this dude
he's
had such bad luck at the free throw line in moments like this. He sinks it, and you think, wow, okay, there's 8.5 seconds left. Timeout Thunder. Thunder get the ball. They run a play to get Shai the ball. And Shai takes another step back 3, this time to the right side, right here, right there on the court.
Nice camera movement.
Makes the shot and just gives the deuces to the Nuggets. I mean, he basically hit 2 game winners in this game. One of the best games probably of his career tonight. I mean, he had a career high in assists at 15. He had 2 blocks. I mean, he had an insane night tonight. And he also, we might want to get into this a little bit later, tied Wilt Chamberlain's record for the most consecutive 20-point games at 126. And he beat basically his biggest rival.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it all from Shai. Like you say, he wrapped up the MVP. Like there are so many things that he did to wrap up the MVP in this one. And really it's those 2 shots at the end where you're just jaws on the ground. This arena's on fire and you're just like, I can't believe that just happened.
This was the first time I had seen Shai Gilgeous-Alexander so hyped up, so revved up, especially after he hits that first step back 3 before another step back 3. He goes to the bench and he's like, I don't know, talking to whomever, the competitor in the air, talking to Denver, talking to the fans, talking to whomever about this is his game. This is their game. And it just goes to show how much this particular matchup matters to OKC and to Shai. Going into this game, we knew, yes, we can say Denver had their number, as in OKC's, but I don't know if we ever really felt how OKC felt about this matchup. What did you gather after the win of just how important it felt to be able to get the win in the fashion that they got it, barely towards the end of the game, off of their MVP making 2 step back 3s? What did it mean for them to win this game?
Yeah, I think there's a lot wrapped up in that. Obviously, this is a rival. This is Jokic, just coming off of all the emotion from the previous game as well, where there was a lot going on in that one, and there's another Lou Dort moment in this one as well. But I would say no Isaiah Hartenstein, no Chet Holmgren, no Jalen Williams in this one, no Alex Caruso in this one. I mean, these are pillars for the Thunder that did not play in this game. And I think part of it was just beating them without those guys was really big, and just continuing to prove, right, that they're the top of the West, even without those guys there. I think that really matters. And they played a full strength Nuggets team. And for them to go and beat a full strength Nuggets team without any of their main bigs, I think was a really big deal. And for Shai, I mean, Shai had 35, 9 rebounds, 15 assists, a steal and a block. He was 3 of 7 from 3. He only took 4 free throws the whole night, by the way, everybody. If you didn't know, only 4.
Oh, yeah.
And got 35 points.
That out to me? You know who pointed that out to me, Andrew? Chris Mullin.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris Mullin had some thoughts, and he actually wanted me to ask the two of you what your thoughts were on Mike Brown's comments, as well as Steve Kerr. I don't know if you guys saw their comments on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but
Steve Kerr kind of said, "Don't hate the player, hate the game," which is what we all sort of do.
Sure.
In every sport, there's an amount of subterfuge with the referees, right? The NFL has this with pass interference and holding and all kinds of stuff. It is really about the way the NBA is officiated. And part of that is that it doesn't allow the officials themselves to use their own basketball knowledge and common sense in calling these things. And so when you have to call things black and white by the letter, sometimes you're going to get the exaggerated call. Now, to me, I think that the one thing that everyone talks about with Shai is the off-arm shove. Well, LeBron James has done that for his entire career. He now has more field goals made than anyone, more points scored. I don't think that that's something that the NBA is going to start calling. This is not new. Jason Tatum does it. I mean, every big guy does this. Kawhi, you
Giannis
can't
does
get close
it.
to him. Yeah. So, I think that it is a problem. I mean, Andrew, I think you probably would agree, but it's, this is how the game is played now.
Yeah. And Shai's proving that he doesn't need to do that on every play in order for him to score. That's kind of the problem is people at least on Twitter and on videos, make it seem like that's all he does. And tonight's a really good example of him being able to create. I mean, they were throwing doubles at him almost every possession. That's why he got 15 assists, was that he was effectively picking apart the double team, and he had shooting out there. Jared McCain played a big role in this one. AJ Mitchell played a big role in this one. Isaiah Joe hit some big shots too. But as far as I don't really have a problem with what Mike Brown or Steve Kerr said. Yeah. I think maybe the tone of Mike Brown was a little salty, but I think that the message is mostly similar. But
they're also negotiating through the media too, guys.
Right.
Come on,
For what it's worth, to just clear it up, Steve Kerr said that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is incredibly clever, and Mike Brown said that SGA does a great job of convincing refs, quote, that he's getting fouled. So just wanted to put that
all the greats do it.
I think that was what Chris Mullin's point was in calling out or saying this is how it's being perceived. Right. However, even in a game tonight, he got 4 free throws. Yeah. And so whether he's incredibly clever or does a great job of convincing refs, he is still able to put up MVP caliber games while only shooting 4 free throws and getting 2 amazing shots while being well defended.
Yeah, it's a talent. It's a talent.
It is.
I mean, if it were something that were easy, everybody would do it, right? Because free throws are free.
Everybody tries. That's the problem that I have with it, is that aesthetically, I'm tired of watching guys fall on the ground so much. It does get hard to watch. But look, I want to talk about this game a little bit more, just because the Thunder were down so many guys. You mentioned they're down 3 starters, 4 guys in their top 8 in the rotation. And I thought that the way that Shai was guarded is more like what we're going to see in the playoffs, especially if J-Dub doesn't prove it in the regular season, prove that he can be what he was last year and not what we saw when he was out there this year. I think we're going to see way more of this, forcing him to give the ball up. But what I loved about it was the way that he still remained active. He didn't just give the ball up and kind of space out and keep the defense away. He went looking for the ball. I mean, he was looking for ways to get back in the action. And part of this is Jalen Williams spacing the floor created all this space for Shai to operate without the ball. Once he gave it up, Jalen Williams, this guy, I mean, is he a starter level player in the NBA? Because it feels like every time he's plugged in the starting lineup, he does something out there, whether it's the 30-point game against Detroit the other day, this 29-point game, he spaces the floor, he shoots every single time and gives you this solid defense. It feels like OKC secretly has a monster big man rotation that we've been sleeping on all year.
I think Jay Will is a really high level backup is what I think he is. And he told me he's like, I was so tired. He's like, I didn't have the energy to like really celebrate after the game. He said that he was walking back to the huddle and he went up to Kaysen Wallace and was like, man, I'm tired. And like Kaysen looked at him and said, no. And he was like, okay, nope, I'm not tired.
Just not allowed.
Jay Will had an incredible game. Mark told him, he didn't tell him until like right before the game, but right before the game, he told him, hey, you're going to match Jokic minute for minute in this one. And so Jokic plays 40 minutes. Jay Will plays 40 minutes in this one. And he defended well. He rebounded well. Obviously, he was 7-11 from three. That's the most threes made by a Thunder center, actually, in the history of the team, which is kind of cool. And had 3 assists in this one, 2 blocks. Like this was a really impressive performance from Jay Will. He continues to get better. I mean, this is a guy that was not supposed to be this player. Go watch like 5 minutes of him playing at Arkansas. He was just this like ground bound, score in the paint, big. And no one really people are like, okay, that's a fine backup center. But the fact that he has become a 3-point shooter, he had a super athletic dunk on the break that like I was asked Andrew Williams about that. And he was like, we were all just kind of wide eyed whenever he got that much air. He's been impressive. He's increased his athleticism since he's gotten to the league. And the fact that they can just plug him in and play him 40 minutes and he could get a stat line that's 29, 12 and 3 against one of the best teams in the NBA is pretty impressive.
Honestly, if Brook Lopez can start in the NBA today, I don't see a world in which Jay Will can't. Wow. He's a stretch. Let's just be real. Like Brook Lopez in his prime, sure, different conversation. Yeah. But today, if Brook Lopez can start on a team, then I think Jay Will could too. He stretches the floor, plays defense, and minus the mistakes. AKA that one foul he had today, fighting through a screen. He's a big one. He's an excellent big.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys, stick around after the break. We're going to talk about the Nuggets being healthy and what the West looks like now after this game. Okay, Andrew, we got a chance to see the Nuggets at full strength for a full game. Jamal Murray, he had the ankle issue Friday night, so he didn't play that whole game. But luckily, not a big deal. He didn't have to miss any time. Let's talk about the start of this game because they were clearly going after the size advantage that the Nuggets had. Aaron Gordon looked amazing. For as bad as maybe his rhythm looked on Friday, he looked like he was the guy who, right before he got hurt. Remember how it felt like he couldn't miss a shot for about a month there?
Yep.
That's scary if this is just who he is, if he's just right back to that.
Yeah, I mean, he had 19 points in the first quarter, only 4 points the rest of the way. So, like, the Thunder made some adjustments. One of those was that they didn't play Kaysen Wallace a lot. Kaysen picked up 3 fouls, like, really fast. I think we were at, like, minute 7 of the first quarter, and Kaysen had 3 fouls. He didn't play the rest of the first half. He played sparingly in the second half, and they used a lot more Luguentz Dort, and they used a lot more shooting to spread him out a little bit, and his effectiveness started to wane as the game went on. And some of that could just be he's not in game shape yet. It takes time for players to get there. But yeah, they were finding him early and like give him a ton of credit for making shots. He made a lot of tough shots. He's getting to the free throw line like crazy. The Thunder could not stop fouling him, was also part of the problem early on in this one. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Gordon, we all know like what he can bring. And, it was really the closing moments of the game where a lot of the Nuggets were a little bit more slow footed. And, really except for Jokic. Jokic like almost delivered them a game. Like he almost won that game for them with his scoring down the stretch.
Well, he only had 6 shots in the first half, right? It was one of those classic, I don't even want to say it's a rope-a-dope because sometimes this is just how he paces himself. And he'll look almost disengaged offensively outside of making passes. And then he comes out of the gate in the third and he's just this giant load. Zena, like we've talked about this quite a bit with Jokic. You want him to try to do that for 4 quarters. Maybe it's just not sustainable, but I mean, it just feels like it makes it tougher when he's not engaged in the first half of games.
And the problem is you wonder if he's not engaged because he almost knows the work he's going to have to do defensively.
Right.
And it's almost preemptively like, let me try to find a balance in which I can provide something on both ends of the ball. But what Denver has had all season long, and they particularly have, is one, a Jokic off the court problem, and also a Jokic on the court. How do you insulate him from a perspective of giving him the opportunity to capitalize on his energy on the offensive side of the ball, while he's also in the most dangerous position on defensive, which is in the paint. And he's not a great rim protector. I was looking at the fact that, on this kind of Jokic conversation, OKC evenly split their attack. They were 47 field goal attempts from 2, 46 field goal attempts from 3. Andrew, how common is that? Like, I know that they typically have a few more 2-pointers and 3-pointers. They're not a great offensive rebounding team. So they don't have a ton of 2-pointers from that perspective. Like, how much did Denver influence the way that OKC showed up from an offensive perspective in terms of their defense?
Not much outside of the double teams. I really don't. Okay. I really don't think the Nuggets provided that much resistance to the Thunder throughout.
Yeah,
nope.
They had 10 more threes than they typically take, and it just felt as if because Denver lacked on the perimeter and also inside, like OKC had a much more balanced attack than we've typically seen them.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it too is like you could see AJ Mitchell had not played in weeks, and AJ looked great tonight. Like he came back and played an awesome game. And, the Nuggets put themselves in a position where they really needed to play Tim Hardaway Jr. He had 8 threes tonight. He was amazing for them. But then he's like given just as much back on the other end. Like one of the big plays was AJ Mitchell driving left on Tim Hardaway Jr. and getting all the way to the rim for a pretty easy layup. It's just like the resistance stuff is going to be tough for them. Like Christian Brown does a great job. I think he's a really good defender. I think he defends Shai pretty well. But then it's everybody else. I think Bruce Brown is close to unplayable for them come playoff time. He had some rough minutes for them. He's not defending well for them. And so like they're going to have to figure some stuff out. Now, Denver always does this, where it's regular season and they look a certain way and they play a certain way for several weeks, and you feel like you know who they are, and then they get to the playoffs and they're able to figure stuff out. And so I kind of give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit with their defense. But if this is who shows up, this team's not getting out of round 1. Like the West is too hard.
Listen, they're going to be getting Peyton Watson back at some point. I'm still trying to figure out when Cam Johnson is going to be good with the rest of the starting lineup. Like is that going to happen? Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know. But I do think Peyton Watson makes a big difference, because if they can have Brown, Watson, and Aaron Gordon out there, that helps them quite a bit. I mean, it's about Jokic. When teams get downhill on Jokic, he's not going to do much because he doesn't want to get in foul trouble. And it's just not his game. He wants to pull the ball out of the net and just run. And you see that AJ Mitchell and Shai, attacking the basket. They were unimpeded pretty much. All right. I want to get your takeaways on the West bigger picture. We just haven't had a chance to chat in a while. So as we stand right now, how are you feeling about OKC versus the rest of the top of the West? Like, who should they be worried about come playoff time?
I mean, I still think, despite what we've seen with Denver, I still think Denver is at the top of the list. I just think playoff experience matters. And so I think that Denver's still at the top of the list for the Thunder. Then I think it's probably San Antonio. You have playoff experience, and then you have Victor Wembanyama, who is something we've never seen ever. And they played well against OKC. I would still favor OKC. And then I don't know. We've seen the Thunder play this Minnesota team in the playoffs. They've been able to play them quite well. The Rockets can't close games. The Lakers don't have the defenders to defend guys like Shai and Dub and AJ and even Jared McCain, who had a really nice night tonight for the Thunder. But I really think it's Denver and then San Antonio. And then I think everybody else is kind of the rest of the Western Conference, in my opinion. And it's going to be like rock, paper, scissors to whoever makes it past like what round for Minnesota, Houston, and for the Lakers. And then it would be pretty shocking if like San Antonio or the Nuggets lost in round one. Like that would be pretty shocking.
Yeah.
But if like Minnesota or Houston or the Lakers went home in round one, I don't know that anybody would be all that surprised.
And we don't feel that, well, I'm asking the question, but Jalen Williams' absence, does that impact anyone, particularly when you're thinking about teams that defend really well on the perimeter, like a Spurs team, for example, how OKC would match up if they don't have a Jalen Williams in the playoffs?
He's coming back. I mean, he's close. So like we're gonna see J-Dub come back before the end of the season. He's gonna get a good stretch of games before the playoffs. And the good thing about him, like the biggest thing that was really holding him back earlier on in the season was the wrist. And with him being out, he's been able to like get more shots with that wrist than he has, really since the surgery happened. And so I do think the wrist feels good. And it's just about like injury management for the calf. And I think that they're not going to rush him back, Like they're winning games right now. Shai's back. They're winning games. I don't think that there's any rush to bring him back. But I do think we are going to see him. And so it's really going to be about like him and Hartenstein. Can they get those guys back? And can they play extended periods of time without re-injuring their calves? Like those are going to be like really big deals for the Thunder. Like they need those two. Like those, if we're talking about winning another title, they've got to have those two guys. Like they just do. And so I think if they're missing either one of them, I think that these series get really tight really fast, even though they have Jay Will. Chet was out tonight. He has the flu. So like Chet will get better. He'll be back. Maybe he's back in time for the Celtics game later this week. But yeah, I just think like those two are too crucial to what they do. And I think that they will both be back before the postseason.
Yeah. Andrew, thanks for hanging around the arena for us. Everybody go listen to Down to Dunk and leave him a 5-star review. Yeah, leave him a 5-star review. For Zena Keita and Andrew Schlecht, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for hanging out with us.